We are celebrating the 27th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to its motherland, and we have invited two of my friends from Hong Kong. Coincidentally, you're both in Beijing. Can you say hi and wave to the camera?
Hello.
Do you want to introduce yourself first?
Hello, everyone. I'm Lester from Hong Kong. I currently own a startup. We do a lot of development in property technologies. So we create software to allow property owners to leverage data and better optimize and become more efficient with their operations.
Property technology, something very special for Hong Kong, I imagine. I'd love to learn more.
Hello everyone, my name is Stanley. I'm also, same as Lester, I'm from Hong Kong. And I'm the co-lead and also the co-founder of the Web3 Labs of the University of Science and Technology of Hong Kong. So essentially what we do at the core is we help more young people to learn more about Web3 and also help them to get a career started in this very exciting emerging space related to blockchain and Web3.
Web 3.0. I
Exactly.
think helping young people, but you can also help me to understand a little bit more as well. So we are celebrating the 27th anniversary of the return. Are you both born before 1997?
That's correct, yes.
Same, me too. Can you share a little bit, what are some of the biggest differences or changes you have seen Hong Kong have gone through in the last 27 years? Do you want to go first?
I think one of the biggest change I've seen during after the return to the motherland is that there is some more integration between the cities, between Hong Kong as well as the Greater Bay Area. So one of the key changes I've seen is a lot more people is traveling into the mainland to do business, to even go to school. So I think that's one of the biggest changes I've seen myself.
So stronger connection. Do you travel back and forth between Hong Kong and the mainland as well?
Yes, I do actually travel quite frequently.
How often do you travel between the
My
borders?
frequency would be around maybe once every 2 weeks. That's because I have an office in Shenzhen. That's why I travel quite frequently.
And of course, Hong Kong was very, very excited quite recently about the high-speed rail to Shanghai and to Beijing as well. Why don't you share a little bit more? What are some of the biggest changes you have seen Hong Kong gone through?
Yep. I totally echo with what Lester just said. It's also about the increased connectivity between mainland and also Hong Kong. Apart from tourism, we actually see in terms of business and also a lot of like financial development is how we also rely on the mainland's, the greater economy and how we can actually bring the Hong Kong as a financial center to be at the higher levels. And I think what we have really seen in the last two to almost 3 decades is that how Hong Kong has also played a role to help to bridge China with the international market and same as bringing the international markets bring to China.
So it's connection based, also this mutual beneficial relationship between Hong Kong and mainland as well. Both of you are in tech. So one of the 8 centers Hong Kong is positioning itself as is the International Innovation and Technology Center. Can you tell me a little bit more? How do you see the tech scene, the landscape in Hong Kong? Do you think they're successful in promoting this International Innovation and Technology Center?
As a startup founder, I think Hong Kong is very well positioned and the policies in place are actually very beneficial to companies within Hong Kong, as well as attracting companies from abroad to come into Hong Kong.
Are there many property tech companies? I know property is a very big sector, of course,
That's
in Hong Kong.
correct, yes.
But property tech, is it growing or is it a mature sector?
The property technology sector is actually a fast-growing industry. A lot of companies and property developers in Hong Kong, as well as mainland, actually are looking to adopt different types of new technologies to help them become more efficient with operations as well as facility
Give me an
management.
example. What are some of the application of property tech?
Right. One of
Finding
the
the cheapest rental and property prices. That's what I had in mind. I don't know
Yeah.
whether that's true.
Yeah, I think a lot of lease tech is some of the big areas that property technologies is in. However, for my company, we do a lot of innovation in ESG. So what we do is basically
Explain to us what ESG is.
So ESG is basically about environmental, social, and governance factors within a company. So in property technologies, what we do is we leverage the data within a building system. For example, the central ventilation systems, lighting, when lights are turned on or off. So we leverage these data to help property owners optimize energy output. So for example, if someone is not using a room, we can gather this data and then we can help them turn off the light and then save some energy. So that's a generalization of what our technology do. However, there are a lot more advanced uses of data within the building itself that allows us to help our customers or clients save up to 25% of their energy costs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Saving money, that's a big thing in business. Tech for good for bottom line and good for the environment. That's very nice. Is there, so you mentioned Web 3.0.
Yep.
Is there anything that you do with Web 3.0 in property tech?
Currently, we don't have direct connections with Web 3.0.
Yep.
However, I think a lot of things that you mentioned just now, for example, leasing, maybe there are some transaction contracts that can leverage Web3 and blockchain.
Maybe let's hear from the
yeah.
expert. Is there anything that property tech, because property tech is a very big thing before we move on to your business, is there anything that you can apply Web 3.0 to startups such as property tech?
Yeah, definitely. So I think what we have seen in the past few years is that there's an increasing trend of people trying to securitize and tokenize these real-world assets. And so, of course, property would be one of that. So essentially, it's like putting this property asset onto the blockchain ledger, and then that could facilitate transactions and trading for different participants in the market.
In even more layman terms, what does all this tokenization and blockchain mean?
So essentially, it is a way to digitize these assets to become something that is more readily transactable and also abide by the legal terms. So say, for example, now in the past, if you say want to issue a gold or something, you will need to go through a bank. And of course, there are different regulations you need to abide by. And then nowadays, but then for each of these gold that you transact in the whole unit, but whereas in tokenization is like this gold become maybe 100 tokens or 200 tokens, it will be available in much smaller units, and it will also could increase the transaction.
So kind of more decentralized way of doing it,
Exactly.
taking the middle person out of this.
Yes, of course, there will also be rules, but just that the transaction can occur in a more transparent manner, and also it can be of like smaller bite size for more participants.
How do you assess the adaptation of such pioneering technology in places like Hong Kong? Are people welcoming this technology because it's quite disruptive in some way?
Exactly. I think what Hong Kong has been very, very remarkable, and also thanks a lot to central government support, is that we are trying to be the Asia center of technology, and also actually in blockchain. We have actually introduced different initiatives, running out like sandbox program with different major institutions to push out for like digital related assets like the digital currency, and we are also exploring the use of blockchain into different enterprise settings. So I do think that right now it's still in the early stage of the application in our city, but I do think that we actually receive a lot of support from the official bureaus and the relevant parties to actually make more great things happen.
The adaptation of new technology, do you think people are welcome? Particularly, I think property is a sector which are seen more conservative in some way, right?
That's correct. So recent years, we have seen a huge growth in demand for the technologies that we built. I think since Hong Kong is such a densely populated area, our customers are very welcoming of new technologies for them to try. So this is one of the main drivers for us to actually innovate and do research and development in Hong Kong, as well as having a branch in Shenzhen. So they are very welcoming of new technologies. They are willing to try, and they are looking for solutions that can actually help them save money and become more efficient generally.
I want to talk a little bit about the role of government as well. You mentioned about the central government having different policy. I think the special administrative region government also promote different initiatives. Can you talk about some of the things that you benefit from, and what more do you think the government can do to promote a more innovative ecosystem in Hong Kong?
For myself, I'm part of one of the key incubation centers in Hong Kong, which is the Hong Kong Science Park. Yep. I think the incentives the government provide to startups in Hong Kong is actually quite abundant. One of the key things is they have rental subsidies, they have incubation centers that provide cash incentives, they also have subsidies for hiring research and development talent within Hong Kong. So I think that the amount of incentives that is provided to startups is actually quite ideal for companies within Hong Kong to operate in Hong Kong locally, as well as transferring our technologies to China, as well as Southeast Asia.
Interesting. And then for you, I would imagine research is a very critical element.
I totally agree.
For you.
So just to add on what Lester just mentioned, so it's definitely a lot of funding also has been given to universities. So because we come from an academic background, so a lot of these the professors, they actually receive the funding to actually to be able to actually do some research on the more pioneering fields. Of course, there's also a lot of like funding that's provided to these professors for them to convert these academic research into some tangible business ideas or tangible like inventions that can actually be able to apply in the business settings. So and also from the talent standpoint is that we also see like the government has provided a lot of like funding and opportunities for young people to actually participate in entrepreneurial training. So example would be I had the opportunity to participate in the other what we call the innovation office, apart from Science Park, that's the cyberport. So they actually have a program for the university students where they have the opportunity to travel abroad for a week to join entrepreneurship training by a top business school. And this is actually where a lot of people, young people, they have the first experience to be trained and also to know how to really run a startup from zero.
And of course, this is one of the many trips I imagine you guys being
Exactly.
on in trying to learn from different ecosystems. You mentioned university. So many universities, many higher education institutions in Hong Kong, which have done very well in ranking recently, they have campuses in the Greater Bay Area as well. Can you talk a little bit about the cooperation that you have between Hong Kong and other cities in Greater Bay Area? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. So I actually did my undergraduate study in the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So actually back 10 years ago, we already started the vision of like opening a campus in Shenzhen. And so what we have seen is that, at least from alumni, is that we have seen there's a strong traction of the mainland, and also we have seen increasing cooperation between the Shenzhen campus and the Hong Kong campus in terms of research and also in terms of like grooming of talent. And now I'm sort of running the Web3 Lab on a pro bono basis for the University of Science and Technology. We've also recently opened a campus in Guangzhou. Is actually 2 times the size of the Hong Kong campus. And then
it's a lovely campus.
It's really
very similar, but very fancy.
Exactly, very fancy. And that also the curriculum design is actually more focused on innovation and also cross-disciplinary training. So we do see that even though it's still in emerging stage, but we see that over time, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, there's going to be much more.
How will you compare the adoption rate or the attitude between pioneering technology in Hong Kong and in Greater Bay Area or the mainland?
Yep, maybe I think Lester will be.
Yeah, I think one of the key differences between the mainland and Hong Kong is that I think the mainland have a really high focus on deep tech. So they want to do innovation in areas that is closely related to natural sciences or maybe semiconductor innovations. In Hong Kong, we are more catered to maybe a financial markets, or for example, maybe
something
SaaS.
that can
commercialize quite quickly. So I think that's the key differences that I can see within the innovation in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area or even Greater China. So for in terms of integrating with the Greater Bay Area, I think Hong Kong, for example, Science Park, we do have a secondary park in Shenzhen as well, which is part of the Hetao Qu. So I think the cooperation between the different regions is quite significant. I've seen a lot of economic zones within Shenzhen and Guangzhou that provides a lot of incentives for Hong Kong startup entrepreneurs to promote their technologies, to open a branch office within Shenzhen or other regions within the Greater Bay Area. So they provide incentives for housing, they provide incentives for rent, as well as attracting talent to a local hub that allows innovation to be taken place.
I want to take a step back a little bit. You say you had an office in Shenzhen, right? So when you were opening a new office outside of Hong Kong, was it a very easy choice to choose Shenzhen, or was it you have quite a few options that you have to kind of ponder over?
Right. I think Shenzhen is one of the natural choices for me, myself, as its close proximity to Hong Kong. So it allows me to travel quite frequently and very easily into Shenzhen. It takes me 12 minutes to take a high-speed train, and then I can take a taxi directly to my office, and then I can reach within 45 minutes. So that's one of the key reasons that I made to basically open an office within Shenzhen. Another key factor is that Shenzhen have a really good university. They have a large local talent pool of research and development personnel and employees. That's why I think it's a very good reason for startups from Hong Kong to actually open a branch within Shenzhen and then actually find opportunities of businesses within Greater China.
So convenience is obviously one of the factors that you consider. So I want to think of sort of a more broader aspect. So for entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is a small city with limited population, particularly I know scalability is a very important issue for startups. What advices you might have for young people who might think about, you have this great idea, maybe research that you want to commercialize. What are some of the things that they need to be mindful of when they approach the mainland market or the Greater Bay Area?
I think one of the key factors that they have to consider is understanding the cultural differences as well as how mainland businesses.
Can you name one of the few differences then? Because we talk about a lot about similarity, which is great, but there are also differences, as you mentioned. What are some of the learnings or cultural differences you see?
I think the main difference between doing business in Hong Kong and doing business in mainland is that it doesn't have a very similar financial and law system that it abides by. So you have to learn all about the new rules about maybe hiring. You have to learn more about contracting rules within mainland, which is completely different from the Hong Kong system. So I think that's maybe one of the fronts that maybe in the future would become more closely aligned between the two regions that allows us to do more business for startup owners.
And obviously Greater Bay Area is trying to create this environment where more alignment, more conversation, more exchanges can happen, right? And for you, for like Web 3.0, like it is something that still, I think the mass population is still trying to grasp what it is and what we can do with it. What are some of the things that need to be mindful of?
I think mindful of is that I would say right now Web3 also Hong Kong has been given sort of, my understanding is given a role, more of like a role to actually to help to pioneer or even help to push the Web3 development of the entire of the region, of China and also in the region. So I think what we have seen, instead of being mindful, is that I think there are even more opportunities. Is that we have actually seen since last year we have actually seen an influx of developers or talents, Web3 talents from mainland coming to Hong Kong to look for opportunities, whether they want to do fundraising or whether they will look for business development partnerships or whether they will look for like expansions, etc. So last year we actually have that very big scale event by HKSAR. It's called the Web3 Festival that actually attracted around maybe even tens of thousands of people to come to Hong Kong, mostly from the Web3 space, not just mostly from mainland, but also from different nearby Asian regions. Is that and that is definitely that big part of opportunity that we foresee. And of course, because this is still an emerging space, so I would say in the next couple of months or years to come, there will be more, maybe more like a more cleared framework that could be applied to monitor the development of this space. But so far I would say it's still the emerging space where there are opportunities that people can actually leverage and also
what I'm hearing is that Hong Kong is a platform where people from around the world come together to exchange ideas. Maybe not to do business, but again, to explore new areas as well. So you spoke a little bit about the future. So let's talk about the future. So the 27th anniversary is a way to review back some of the achievement that we have had, the special administrative region. But looking ahead, what more can Hong Kong do to facilitate a more innovative ecosystem? What are some of your ideas?
I think Hong Kong has, in the last 27 years, Hong Kong has received a lot of benefits, also through the transition back and also with the one country, two system framework. I think looking forward, what really defines Hong Kong's success is that we have the elements for both sides. So I think Hong Kong will, if we want to continue the success, we definitely also need to retain a certain amount of the international elements, but also of course not losing the roots where we come from. And I do think that thanks to also a lot of recent programs, we can actually, Hong Kong can benefit from a lot of like talents that come to Hong Kong to work. And I do think innovation in the long term, it could be really taking off with the new development of the zone that's actually next to Shenzhen.
You mentioned talent is obviously the foundation for innovation, right? But you also mentioned how one country, two systems set a good foundation as a system to go forward. But to capitalize on one country, two systems, this means we have to better understand the two systems as well. And
also with the international, I think both what we have seen in the current interactions is that there's an increasing trend for us to also understand more about Chinese development. I think that's really good, and I think we also need to continue our connectivity with the international market as well. That's how we can also continue to help China to actually enter into international market, and same for bring international market back to China.
Very, very interesting role that Hong Kong can play in the future.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with Stan's point of view. I think Hong Kong really have a big advantage in having alignment with the international market, bringing businesses from
Even for property tech, do you think that will work as well?
I think in terms of Hong Kong's role in the region is that we can adopt different types of technologies from the mainland as well as develop locally in Hong Kong. And then we can be aligned with the markets in Southeast Asia and, for example, Australia as well. So we are well positioned to transfer these type of technologies to other markets. I think the key advantage that we have is that we still have the common law. We are closely aligned with other Commonwealth countries, and maybe, for example, Southeast Asia, we can do business with Malaysia. They still use English as their main language. So I think that's one of the key reasons why Hong Kong is well positioned, along with the Greater Bay Area, to export our technologies, attract new talent to come work for us, and then export basically our innovations to the world.
So to be more innovative, we need to be more agile, but at the same time need to be more adaptive to different environment as well. And in this way, we are creating a more open sort of ecosystem, and thus a more innovative environment. Any last word, any last messages to Hong Kong 27th birthday?
I think the key message I want to bring to maybe the youth in Hong Kong is that I recently visited the Shong An New area. I've seen great plans, blueprints that allows different types of technologies to be adapted into a brand new city, a future city that adopts different types of new technologies and lifestyles that there are a lot of innovation that I can see. And I hope people from Hong Kong, maybe especially the youth, can go around China, look at all the opportunities there are, and basically enjoy what the integration can become.
Excellent. You, final words, final message?
Yeah, so actually I'm also 27 years old.
Oh, wow. So you're born in 1997.
Actually, just right before that, but I still haven't passed my 28th birthday. But I would say...
Well, belated happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would say, yeah, so looking into the last 27 years, right? So there has been so much progress, just from a history standpoint, from China, like how it started from really more of like a developing country to like the stage that it's reached is totally amazing.
The largest developing country.
Yeah, definitely. Of course. But you see that the influence that it plays in the global landscape is really amazing. So I do think that I actually started visiting more actively in mainland in 2015, so that was around nine years ago. And each time I visit, I actually really opened my eyes. So it's back to what Lester has mentioned. For youth in Hong Kong and the region, definitely encourage if you take the opportunity to actually immerse and also understand the development of the country, because there's also a lot of more opportunities and a lot of very exciting things that's going on that will definitely open your eyes and also give you some perspectives of what are the future, how you can make the most out of your potential.
Very, very hopeful messages. Thank you so much, Stanley. Thank you so much, Lester. And happy birthday to Hong Kong. Thank you.